Hi guys and gals, Froggy here. We're doing front rotors and pads on the C506 Corvette, and I've already got it jacked up and I've got the wheels off. You guys and gals know how to do that already. If you don't, look it up on one of my other videos. So we've got to basically take off the caliper bracket and the rotor, and then new rotor goes on. Caliper bracket goes back, pads go in, and replace the caliper. I'm probably not going to do flushing the brake system today because I don't think I'll have time to do it, but I might shoot it for you tomorrow. So what we need is, I think this is a 15 millimeter plus an 18 millimeter for the caliper. 18 holes, I call it a lock nut. It's not really a lock nut, but it holds the flats there, and the 15 goes on that bolt right there. Now I have to take the camera away to break that loose, but there's one upper and one lower right there. I'm holding on to it. So those two come off, and the caliper will pull out that way, and we'll rest it up on the top there. Okay, so give me a second, I'll get that going. Okay, I got those two bolts off, and I'm just pulling straight towards the back of the car, just pulling, and I've got the caliper off. And there's one pad that helped me out there. It came out pretty easy. The other one's ready to come out too. There you go. So those pistons, I'm going to push them back into the bores before I try to get the new pads in. Why? Because the new pads are much thicker. So the pistons have come out towards the rotor. Now they're going to get pushed back in. The rotor's thicker and the pads are thicker, so I'm going to push them all the way back. Now let's get this caliper bracket off. Give me 1 second. Let me get this up out of the way. You never want to hang these by the hoses because it's bad for the hoses. So I might probably secure that with a bungee or something. Give me a sec. There you can see the bungee I put on there. Just wrapped it to the top of this, well actually it's around the control arm. So that'll work. Now to get this bracket is at 125 foot-pounds, so I need some big wrenches to get that off. Usually I use, actually I don't have it here right now. Let me go get the tool. The bracket bolts are 21 millimeter. There's one right there and one below. And I usually use the torque wrench because it has a ratchet on it, and that way I can get a good angle to pull down here because it's 125 pounds, and because it's under the car, it's hard to get an angle. It's not like you're out here doing a wheel, a lug nut. So I know you're not supposed to use the torque wrench to break loose nuts and bolts, but in a pinch, if it was up higher in the air on a lift, then I could just use a breaker bar. But I don't have, Froggy doesn't have a lift, so there you go. Alright, I'm going to turn the camera off and break them loose, and then I'll show you the removal of the bracket. Okay, there we go. I've got the bracket off. Let me show you something. When I first started doing this, it was a little confusing to me on how the bracket went back on. So I'm going to take the rotor off. Obviously the bracket goes around the rotor, so when you put it back together, make sure you get the rotor on there first before you do the bracket. But I'm just going to show you something. When the bracket goes back on, it has these little metal clips on there. Well, let me just show you that. That's what the they're stainless steel, and that's what the pad ears slide on. So that's why they're in there. Let me take that one out too. They're both the same. There's no upper and lower. But what I wanted to show you is when the bracket goes back on, it goes like that. You see? Make believe the rotor's in there. You can see the clean part of this steering the steering knuckle. There's a clean part here, and there's clean parts on the caliper bracket. So if you just remember to go clean to clean with the rotor in there, then you'll be able to put it back okay. The other side will be dirty right there where my thumb is moving, and this back side here will be dirty. So just a little tip, something I couldn't quite figure the orientation of that caliper bracket when I first started doing it. So we've got everything off now. Take a look around at all your other components, especially the control arms. Make sure they're not worn, loose. Make sure your shock's good. Your spring, your sway bar, all that stuff. Back to the brakes. I'm going to show you one more thing on the caliper bracket. Before this goes back together, these are the sliding pins right here. Let me switch hands. Sliding pins, and you need to take those off and re-grease. Clean if it's sticky. If the grease has gotten hard or sticky, clean it, re-grease it, and then put it back in and pop it over that lip like that. That's part of your brake job. Okay. Now let me go off camera and take a little break here, and then I'll come back. Okay, guys and gals, Froggy's back. Had a little lunch. Let's get this thing back together. Caliper bracket. It's been lubed. These little skid plates, whatever you want to call them, the little sliders that the pads slide on, have been cleaned, and I'm going to lube them too. All the old thread locker has been cleaned off of this. I'm going to put fresh thread locker on that. So let's do that right now. Kind of need two hands. Okay, I think you can see the thread locker I put on there, and this grease is gray colored, so you can't see that too well. And I also put some grease on these little ears on the end of the pads right there. So I think everything is preset except for one thing. I'm going to use this anti-squeal on the caliper when I get it up there. I'll show you. So first let's get the rotor on. Okay, rotor's up there. Hi, I'm back. Sorry I had to take a phone call with the same smartphone device here that I'm using to film. So anyway, we'll get everything ready to go. Rotor's back on there. Let's do the caliper. It's all prepared. And I need two hands, so I will show you when I get done. Okay. I needed two hands to get the bolt started. And we're going to tighten this up to 125. Okay, that one's getting there. Bottom one. Okay, I'm going to need two hands. 125 is a lot, so I'm going to get my torque wrench and go under the car, and I'll be back. Okay, let's put our little stainless steel slider pieces in here. Sometimes they'll stay up where they're supposed to be pretty well, and sometimes they want to fall out. So let's see. This one's that one's going to want to fall out. Sometimes I put a little bend in them. The bend will just hold them up there. Let's put one pad on there just to hold it up there, maybe. There. I usually, if the pads have a little squealer thing on it, it's a little piece of metal. As the pad wears down, it'll make a squealing noise. You can see it right there. I usually put those on the inside because you can't see the inside pad as well as the outside pad. Now we got to press the piston back and the caliper, and also clean it up a little bit, and we're going to put some of that red anti-squeal on there. Now, remember I told you about this in the beginning? You see how high that brake fluid is in the master cylinder? If I did not take some out, when I press those pistons back, it would overflow. So I'm going to take this little suction thing and take enough fluid out so that I can press the pistons back. I'm going to need two hands. There. Now you can see how low I got it. There. Okay. See, it's well low. It's down at what would be called the low level, I guess, below that seam there. Okay, so now I can press the pistons back. Yeah, I just want to show you, you can see here why I needed two hands. I want to show you how I position this C-clamp, and I put an old brake pad right there where my thumb is wiggling, and I squeeze the C-clamp as close to the center as I can, because I've got two pistons that I'm trying to push back at the same time. And I've got them all the way back now. But here's how I did it. That's how I set it up. They do have a tool for a two-piston caliper that you can buy and use that. Or you can make one, I suppose. But that's the idea, is to push both of those pistons back. Otherwise, one piston fights against the other piston, and they don't go back evenly. So there you go. Okay, there's your orange anti-brake squeal stuff. 2 circles around the pistons, and then 4 big dabs where the backing plate of the pad will come to rest, and that's where the squealing comes. Okay, I've got both my pads in now. I've got the pistons all the way back. I'm going to need 2 hands to put this caliper back around the pads. So I'll show you when I get that done. Okay, there it is. Actually, it went on really easy. As long as you push those pistons all the way back in, it'll go on easy. Now, I've got to tighten up these, the slider bolt. I'm trying to get you a picture of it, but my light is going away. Where's my flashlight? Well, there it is, right there. You can kind of make it out right there. 2 of those, 25 foot-pounds, or 24, I believe. And then we are done on this side. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, check your brake fluid level, break them in according to the pad manufacturer's instructions, and the first time you put your foot down, the pedal's going to go to the floor because you're moving those pistons here. Okay, do you understand? If you don't get any of this, post it up in the comments. I'll answer the comments. And that's it for Froggy on front brakes and rotors, unless I think of something else. See ya. Bye-bye. One last shot here. One of my viewers asked me to show him how the painted hats on the rotors look. So there's the front rotors, and that black right there is the painted hat. If you didn't have that, it would look silver just like the rotor, and it would get rusty. So this is not a beauty shot of a rim and a tire, because I've got racing studs and lug nuts and no center covers on there. But that's what the rotor looks like. Let me show you the back. Maybe the light will be a little bit better on the back here. Of course, the rotor is different because it has a parking brake in there, and that's the back shot. So there you go. I didn't do a very good paint job on that back rotor, but that'll blend in after a while. Okay, see you later. Froggy out.